Okay, so to start, oh, I didn't notice this create button in the upper left. What happens if you click on that?
What button? Sorry?
There's a create button in the upper left that I hadn't noticed before. Oh, there's like a whole tutorial now.
Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, I did the tutorial and it was great. And yeah, okay.
Cool. So why don't we start a project for your game, Yard Sale Fail.
Yeah. Great. And so hit create.
Yep. Yeah, you should just be able to
Look at
hit
this
create.
handsome photo of. Okay.
Yeah,
Look at me. That looks just like me.
yeah.
All right. Okay, so we got a new one here, and I guess I go into this. All
Yeah.
right.
And if you want to edit the details of this, there's like a gear icon in the upper right. Or
Oops.
we could also just jump straight into that.
Oh, okay. Okay. We'll use my game. The working title is Yard Sale Fail. Subject to change. Okay. Cool. So
Great.
we're all set there. Oops. Oops. Okay. Go back in there.
Okay. And now if you click on the edit button, we could get into setting up the
All right.
the files. Okay. So, the thing I'd like to start with for any project is uploading some assets so we have something to work with. So, um, on the left, yeah, click on that
Okay.
and yeah, and on there. And yeah, this is going to be how you upload your like tile sheets and your tables or anything like that. So why don't we start by uploading some of the tile sheets that you showed me.
Okay. Great. And I have them. So this one was split into two. When I exported these, there was 80 tiles total. It looks like it made a grid of what's that, 10 by 7. So it has almost all of them on there, but it spilled over into a different sheet there. Okay. But that's most
Okay.
of them.
So and then does I forgot to ask, are these like all these are all cards of the same type or is the
Yes.
base of the card on here as well?
There's a back to it. It's all the same back on all these cards. So these will just be a single common pool of tiles.
Got it, got it. Okay. Yep. And then you could give it a name so it's easier to identify in a list.
Okay, so this is the junk they're buying at the yard sale. So we'll call this we'll call these the junk tiles. That sounds good.
Perfect.
All
And
right.
just want to give you a heads up, the Discord downloads that are showing up on the so you might want to the bar at the bottom of
Oh,
Chrome that says like Discord setup and stuff.
well, that's good. Yes, it made me. I tried to update it, and then it made me re-download everything all over again, including the PC version. There we
Ah,
go. Okay, that's gone. Cool.
okay. And let's start with that, and we could get into the basics of creating like cards and stuff, and then we could move on to like another asset after that. So yeah, click on save.
Okay. Save. Great.
Great. So now, if you go back to home by clicking that button in the upper left, yeah,
Yep.
this is gonna be like the tree where like all of your like all the components and pieces are defined. So yeah, let's go into components next.
Components.
And these are going to be like all the like sort of what's the word, the
Pawns,
sort of,
meeples.
yeah, this is like where you're going to be defining like the basic building blocks of your game. So if you click on that plus, then we can start adding some. So earlier I was mentioning that there are some default meeples, so you can see them up here. And let's start with building one of those. So click on that.
Okay.
and create. And if we look at this, if you click on the meeple on the left, you'll see that what this actually is it's just a tile, like the same kind of component that cards are. The difference is that most of the cards have like a rectangular shape, but if you scroll down on this menu, you'll see that this meeple has a path shape. And all these intimidating numbers is like the SVG file that would define that meeple. So if you had like a vector and you wanted to load that in, that's where you would put that. But for now, this is basically a meeple vector, and it's treated the same as like a card.
Very cool. Yeah, I
It,
learned that from one of your previous uh, screen share sessions. That SVG files are actually just text files that you can open up in a text editor. I
yeah,
never knew that.
yeah,
That's
it's
so
pretty
cool.
awesome.
So awesome. Okay.
And then if you go down to the bottom, you could see variants. And this is where like all the different like variations of your components would be defined. So if you wanted to set up the different colors for your meeples, then this is where you would set that.
Okay. So if there's up to 5 player count, so 5 colors, each player will get 5 of these. How do I do that?
So this will just like define like the different ways that those components will look. So so if there's 5 players, then you would just need like 5 colors here. So you could delete one of them if you want, or
All right, we'll get rid of. I always confuse yellow and orange, so we'll get
sounds
rid of
good.
orange there. Cool.
Okay, so let me explain these different panels. I think that might help contextualize it. So this panel on the left is like the, I guess like if you think about like the numbers behind like the whole mod, and this panel that's in the middle where you just see the meeple, that's just sort of a inspection of what you're currently working on that left panel. And then this right panel, do you see that join button?
Yes.
So if you click on that, you could take a seat, and this is sort of like where you could see physically see what like the table would look like. And
Okay.
so right now, like even though you have meeples defined, you don't have any actually on the table, which would be on the right panel. So if you want to put some meeples on the table, you see that treasure chest in the upper right.
Yep.
So if you click on that,
Oh.
yeah, now that's where all your meeples are. And if you click on the, you could click on them one by one and create them one by one, or you could select all and create all of them. There's like a button down there to do that. And then, so if you close that, now you're gonna have like a
Uh,
stack of meeples.
oh. Oh wow. Okay. There you go. There they are, fellas. Hi. Great.
Yeah. And in this panel, you could do stuff like Control C and Control V to make copies of stuff. So you, if you need like
Oh,
5 of the purple, you could like Control. Yeah, exactly.
very cool. I see. Okay. Great. Yeah. Oops. Does delete work? Oh yeah. It asked me if I want to delete it. Oh yeah. This is copying and pasting. Really neat.
Yeah, yeah. And these are going to be treated just like cards. So like you'll be able to flip them and stuff, which doesn't really need to happen with meeples, but just something, just a fun little fact for you.
Okay. Great. Yeah. I was just doing making 5 of each. So I copy. Yeah. Super easy. Yeah. There you go. There they are. Whole army of meeples. Great.
Cool. So now let's try making your junk tiles. So you can see what it's like to sort of load your own like cards or tile assets in. So if you go back to your panel that's on the left, where you've got like that tree of components and meeples, if you click on components, we can add a new component for your junk tiles.
Okay.
And so for this one, we're going to, oh, I forgot to ask. For the junk tiles, are you placing things on top of them and moving them around?
They'll be in a stack face down, I guess, to pull from, and then they'll be placed on top of these mats, and then as a player drafts them, will come in front of the player, and then there's a bit of spatial type thing where players are placing them horizontally, vertically, above and top of each other in front of their player area.
Okay, okay. Um, is is there ever a time where you have to like put a meeple on top of a tile and the tile moves around with a meeple on top or anything like that?
Nope.
Okay, then I think a tile would probably be your best bet. So let's create a blank tile.
Great. Okay, and we can how did I name that before? So I call these the junk tiles?
Yeah, you call those junk tile, and all these properties up here are like the ones at the top, like the flip axis. That's just like how the tile flips, and the hidden style is like how it looks in, like if you had like a hand zone, this is how it would look in the hand zone. So you can make it so it shows the back of the card like on our platforms.
Okay.
Um, and so save that before you move on to the next section. Yeah, and then the shape below, this is where you're going to define like the dimensions of your tile. So
Okay.
if it's a square, then you could probably leave it at 128 by 128.
Are these 128, are these pixels? Like I know when I created this in Component Studio, I'm using I think a 600 by 600 pixel, and they go about with the 300 pixels per inch thing, so they're like 2-inch tiles. Is that the same thing
Yeah,
here?
I think those are pixels. I'm not completely sure, but it's I like to err like on like the side of making things like a little bit bigger. Because if you have things really small and you stack them, then like there's going to be like a counter that shows up and it like covers the whole thing if your sizes are really small. Um, so I like to have things around like 100 or 200.
Okay. Do you want to leave it here? Is this okay?
Yeah, yeah. And
Okay.
corner is just how rounded you want the corners to be.
That looks good.
Okay, so now let's go down to variant so we could sort of show how it's gonna look. So right now we just have like the blank tile. Let's go into variant one so we could show what looks like the setup one tile. So right now, if you want to just create like a colored tile, you could just change the fill color here or the stroke color, and that would like just change, and then you would just have like a colored tile. So if you click save, then it'll update that component in the middle.
Got it.
Um, but we already have some tiles, so yeah, let's check out those junk tiles, and yeah,
Oh.
and now you can see all the different ones.
Oh, look at that. It just chopped it up automatically for me.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
So the so you is the back of the card on that same sheet?
It might be on a different sheet, and maybe just for this tutorial, we can just forget. It's fine if it's blank. There just has like a little fake logo I created. Is it fine if we just keep it blank?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, this will be perfect because then we can show what it'll look like. So click on save. And now if you go to your those buttons in the middle on the bottom where it says like front, you could like see what the back of the tile would look like. And
Uh,
since we didn't set a fill, although I thought it would have shown up as red. Interesting.
oh,
I wonder why that is.
might
Oh,
be
is
on.
that like a separate color on the?
Oh, it is. There it is right
Oh,
here.
there
Here
it
we go.
is. Okay.
Hit screen. Hit save. There it goes. Okay, now it's here.
Okay. Cool. Cool. Okay.
Cool.
And you could even make these transparent if you wanted. Um, the support on that is a little weird, but it's doable, especially if you want to do like a lazy like custom shape thing instead of like getting an SVG file. You could like have like a transparent PNG.
Got it. Good to know.
Okay, so let's go back a step on this tree at the very top to variants. So if you were to make each of these one by one, it would take a really long time. So instead, what we're going to do is we're going to take advantage of the mass editing feature. So why don't you make some clones of this? And the way you do that is by clicking that little triple dot menu on the right. Oh, that's the handle to like drag and drop it. Yeah,
Right.
that one. Yeah, yeah. And
Fine.
clone it. Yeah. And then how many tiles are there again?
Yeah, so when I exported this, it took it ex, it was 80 tiles total. And it looks like it converted it was too much for one image, so it created two images. So we imported just one of the images.
Okay,
Um,
okay.
there's 80 total, but it's across two different um PNG files.
Okay, it might be easier to do this in two batches then. So how many tiles was on the first page again? It was
I think it was let me double check. So there's a row of 10 by. It looks like there's 69. It looks like it looks like they tried to do 70, but that last one's blank. So this one has 69 on this sheet.
okay.
Wow.
All right, great. So now if you click on each one, they're all going to show the same face. So what we going to need to do is do a mass edit on these. So if you click on that, yeah, and then click on that pencil.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Now
so
that
this is intimidating, but it's actually not too bad. um, it's the panel on the right shows the sort of crunchy numbers of what like each tile looks like.
Mhm.
And so you can see that each one, the thing that we're most interested in is the asset index, because that's what's pointing at your tile sheet, and all of them are pointing at one right now.
Okay.
So on the left panel, if you in between where it has like those return brackets,
Mm-hmm.
um, so right, what we're going to do is we're going to overwrite that asset index, and the way you do that is you type asset index exactly as it appears over there, like asset and then capital I index, yep, and then a colon, and then you're going to type the word index, which is the variable or the number that's being passed down above in that same function. Um, so that index number is just sort of the count of the items that you're going through, in this case, the variance. So now if you look at that thing on the right, you'll see that it gives you a preview of what the update looks like.
Yeah, these numbers all updated. Okay, so this is a variable here.
Yeah, yeah. So you'll see that that matches the index that's listed above in that same function. And that's
Right.
like the variance like count, so to speak. And so now if you click save on that, you'll see that if you click on say 2 or 3 or something, then
It's
you'll see
easy.
that
There
they've
you go. Super easy.
yeah, yeah. And then so if you do end up having like if you do upload a file that has like the back of the cards, you could do the same thing where you could click on that and you could like type like back asset. I think you do like back asset and then point to like the asset file and then back asset index and or just one to point them all to the same um
God. So you're looking at this one right here. I see. So
yeah,
it's
yeah.
blank. It says null. Okay, so I could do the same thing for back assets to update it. Okay.
Yeah, so you could like so if you upload like another file that's like junk tiles 2, you could just put back asset colon quotation mark junk tiles 2 and then change the back asset index to the one that matches the back of the card, if that makes sense.
Totally. Okay, great.
Perfect.
I'll do later on. Great.
Okay, and so now if you go onto your window on the right, you could on the panel on the next right, the
Oh,
far
yeah.
right, yeah. Now you could create those tiles in there using the box, yeah.
Mm. Oh. Select all, create.
Yep.
Oh. Oh wow, and I created a whole
I
deck.
wonder, did we make the back black? I forgot. I thought we made it
Uh,
green.
forget. Oh, you know what? I bet you one of the tiles in that sheet was black. I bet you.
Oh, yeah, yeah, you're right.
Wait, how do I pull one off the
Oh,
tile?
click somewhere else. Right now you have all 70
Okay, so
selected.
this is kind of a. I was about to say this is a junk tile, but we're calling these junk tiles. This
Yeah,
is.
yeah.
Here we get rid of that one. There
Yeah,
we
yeah.
go. Yeah. Oh, okay. I see. Great.
Perfect. Okay. Let's see. What's the next thing that uh you think that we'll need to like set up for your game? I know you had some like boards and such, right?
Yes. Let's go ahead and so I need to. Is that an asset then?
Yeah, yeah. Well, we're just gonna start with the assets that as like a foundation.
Okay. So if I believe it's this one that I exported. Yes. So these are some funky shaped. These are little. Component Studio calls them a sliver mat. They're these kind of skinny, long um, mats. They look kind of small here, but they're actually quite big. And the number of columns is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It looks like 10. And then there's 2 rows. There's 12 of these total. And so I think that's it. And we'll call these this is where the players are going to send their meeples to the yard sale, and these are where it's going to show what time of the day that they're showing up. We'll just call these the yard mats. It's like the yard sale. So they're coming to the yard sale. Okay, so I'll
Okay.
just save.
So here's an issue with this tile sheet. So I know there's like 2 rows, but screen top's going to split that file like clean in the middle.
Ah,
So you're going to need to specify like I'm not sure how many rows that is, but
gotcha.
maybe 7 or
I want maybe 6 total. I bet you I see what you're saying, right? It's gonna I think it's 6 or it might be maybe it is 7. Maybe they did because the other one was 7 as well, so maybe they do everything 7 by 10.
yeah, yeah.
Right.
Okay. And so these are mats. So is this the thing that will have like a meeple or something on top of
Yes.
it?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So let's go back to your components.
Okay. I'm sorry. I think you asked me that earlier. I said, "You put meeples anything?" I was like, "No." I'm like, "Oops." I mean, yes.
Yeah, but I mean not for the junk tiles, but for the yard mats. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So we'll create a new component, and for this one, we're going to use containers. And
Okay.
so containers are very similar to tiles, with the exception that they cannot be flipped, which is a particular grievance of mine.
Mm.
But also, but most importantly, it has support for like having components that go on top of it and get arranged or hidden and stuff like that. So these are the components you'll use for things like hand zones, for player boards, for tiles that you put like meeples on, anything that you're expecting to regularly put something on top of.
Okay.
And so, yeah.
Great.
So
So
make sure to save that because I always forget to save the name change. And then for the size, this
I think
is
it's like
where
yeah, because it's kind of a long sliver. I think the dimensions are like um 5 by 1. These are 675. Here, let me do this. I was just gonna here. We'll show this. We'll go into Component Studio, which I love. We'll go into version 2, which is even better than version. I'm starting to port over my old CS1 files. We'll go over into Yard Sale Fail. And so, yeah, so this is the sliver mat set 675 by 2. So is that obviously I don't want to put those numbers in or it's going to look ginormous.
yeah, so let's make this relative to your junk tiles, which are 675 by 675. So just a second. What was the long dimension again?
It was
2475.
475. Yeah, I'm loading up the old calculator.
Okay, so that's like 3 2/3. So if we multiply that by 128, we get something close to like 470, 469 and a third. So let's just do 470. So I think that would be a 470 height.
And
And then width
the
would be the same, I think.
I think it should be. Oh yeah, that's fine. That's fine because these are the meeples are gonna go on top of these, not the tiles. So okay,
And we could resize the meeples too.
I think that'll work. Okay.
Right.
All right,
So,
guys.
and let's find out if we did that right by loading in one of the variants.
Okay. And then so I gotta choose this
Oh, good.
sucker. Yeah, I think it nailed it. Yeah, these are my ugly designs. Perfect. Okay, and then do we need to call this something or does it matter?
The variants I usually don't bother with unless there's like something funky about the different variants, but yeah.
You know, it was a little. I think we should make it a little. It cut off the tops and bottoms. I mean, it's not bad, but maybe we can make. If I go back to the yard set, so if I change the height a little bit, can I just kind of mess with this until it looks kind of
Y-
cool? Oh yeah.
yeah, that's what
Okay.
I do. I tweak the numbers until it looks right, so
Got it. Okay, that totally works.
perfect.
And oh yeah, we'll get rid of the corners. These were kind of not like it matters, but yeah, they're
Cool, cool.
cut a steak with those corners. Look at that. Great.
All right. So now let's make the different variants of these. There's like I think 12 total of these, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm gonna let you do it this time. Because it's gonna
Right.
be the same process as the cards.
Yeah, let's see if I can remember how we did that. 'Cause we went in there and did we hit no, was it oh yeah, it was clone and I was gonna make 12 of these and then I was gonna do them all and then update and then you said it was the something asset index. Oops, I spelled ass like ass. Let's do one S, not that much S. In asset index, and then I put in the word index. And oh yeah, it did it. So cool.
Perfect.
Computers. Oh, I didn't even know it. Okay.
I think we have made one too many though, because we made like 12 duplicates, but there's one already. So I think there's like 13 of them. So
So
I
we
think
should
if you
do
scroll down, I think you can leave
bottom
that
or
one. I think it's the 13 one you want to remove.
13 one. Okay. Goodbye.
All right.
Okay, so flip through these. Yeah. Oh, look at that. Cool.
Awesome. So why don't we try creating one of these on the table on the right panel?
Yeah. Okay. So I go into the treasure chest. I will select all of these. So these should be in a face down stack. In each round, depending on player count, a few of these will be turned face up.
Okay, then we're gonna have to do something a little fiddly with these, I think. Do these sizes look right? Are these meant to be as big as that?
Uh, yeah, it's just kind of prototype form, so it definitely was. Yeah, the tile, um, these were about the same width of the tile, or give or take.
Okay,
So
okay.
yeah.
All right. Um, okay, so let's see. So these tiles are meant to be face down, and then um, and then they're flipped face up when they're given to a player, or
Yeah, so at the beginning of each round, depending on the number of players, we'll pull a few of these between like 3 and 5 and place them face up in a row next to each other. So there should be a pile of these face down and then a few of them each round face up.
okay. So this is where we hit the limitation of like the containers not supporting um having like a flip side, but there is a workaround to
Uh,
this.
oh, that's okay. It doesn't matter if they're face down. It's not like this. It's not like it's hidden information or any. I mean, it's not a big deal. So if they're in a face up pile, that's totally fine.
Yeah, but there is a workaround to
Oh,
that,
okay.
and I could show you how to do that. But before we do that, I want to make sure we set up how to like put like the meep because the meeples go on top of this, right?
Yes.
Okay, so why don't we grab one of them off of the stack so we don't get too confused? And so right now, if you were to try to put a meeple on top of it, it wouldn't really stick on top of it if you like grab that tile. So it's because we haven't defined the things that go on top of that container. So let's go back to your yard mat component on the left panel. And then, yeah, the yard mat. And if you scroll down, you're going to see drop zones. Yeah. And so these are, they're sort of like snap points, except like in this like platform, you sort of define ahead of time what specific components are able to be put on top of your other components. So if you click on the drop zone,
Okay.
and under child components, you'll see all the other components you've listed. And so
Oh.
you could select your meeples or your junk tiles and
Okay.
click save. And so from there, now try putting the meeple on top of it.
Oh, look at that. Like
Yeah,
glue.
yeah.
Very cool.
And if we want to get fancy with it, we could set up snap points on each number. Um,
Oh boy.
so yeah, if you
Okay.
go to anchors, and yeah, so there's two types of anchors. There are points and there's lines. Lines are more useful for like splaying like a hand of cards. But you could also do some like sort of fancy automation stuff with it. But let's start with the simple. Let's do a point
Okay.
and then click on the anchor thing. Yeah, over there on the left. Yeah.
Yep.
And so I there's unfortunately the best way that I found for setting these because like this they're set by like these number coordinates. But what I
Uh,
usually do is I just sort of test and kind of fudge
gotcha.
it until it looks right.
Yeah, so the 0, 0 is the dead center. So so I want there it can hold each excuse me, circle can hold one meeple. So if I did something like that, that should be okay.
Yeah, yeah. And then so these fields down here I use a lot. So capacity tells you how many things could go on that snap onto that anchor point. And so if only one meeple is supposed to go on it, then you can set it to one, so it'll only hold one. And then I like setting auto rotate. And what this does is that whenever you put something on there, it automatically orients it into the same like orientation. So it's like always goes in right side up or something like that.
Cool.
And so if you set that to 0, that's what that will do.
Got it.
And then auto flip is more useful for cards. You can make it so when you put a card into that zone, it flips it face up. So if you have like face down cards going into your hand, they get flipped face up. But for these, it doesn't really matter so much.
Great.
So why don't you click save on that, and then we'll see how it works.
Ew. So did this now already populate it to the playing space? Oh yeah, it's right there. So if I just get anywhere, okay, since there's only 1 point, anytime I throw it, it automatically goes to the 1 point. I see. So even if I put it down here, it zips it up there. Cool.
Yeah, yeah.
So if I do
So
that, should I make a clone of this and do it like 3 more times?
yeah, yeah. So yeah, if you make 3 more clones, you could put in, yeah, you could do it that way, or you could, yeah, yeah, and then, yeah, exactly.
I did this. Okay, and then this is the same. Oh yeah, okay, so maybe that's yeah, and you can just kind of eyeball it here is good enough. Yeah, that'll work. So
Yeah,
we
yeah,
save that, we go back to anchors, we'll clone another one, we'll do one, we'll open that up, we'll do I guess plus 75 is probably gonna look yeah, that's good enough. I'll tinker with that stuff later. I think that's great. And then finally the last one, anchor number 4. We'll go in here and what did I put in there? Is 200 or yeah, sure. That looks really great. Ah, and so now I have a choice, and so it tries to find whatever's the closest one. Oh yeah, that's
yeah,
great. And
yeah.
you can kind of anywhere nearby. Oh, and I can move it around. Oh my God, this is exciting. Yeah,
Awesome.
love it. Great.
Okay, so now let me show you the workaround towards having like the face down tiles. So if you, so let's make a new component. Let's go to like the top level of on the far left panel.
Okay. Yep, up here.
Yeah, yeah.
Go
To
to.
components. And we're going to create a new component. This one's going to be a tile, and I'm sorry, not a tile, a container. And let's make this one like a little bit bigger than your than the forget the yard mats. So
Yeah,
yard mats were like 128 by 500. So let's make these like 150 by 550 or something.
great. I had 0 there. Cool.
And um and then for and then we're going to add the drop zone to this and just make it the yard mats. And we'll make like an anchor point that's just in the middle.
Great.
Yeah. Okay, so create that component on the right.
Yes. So I take this. I do container. I put that there. Okay.
Okay, so take the meeples off of your one tile there, yeah. And then grab the other ones and put them in your new yard mat container.
Uh, you mean take the whole stack of them?
Yeah,
Of
yes, take the whole stack of them.
oh,
Or we start with one too. But yeah, if you double click on it, you'll select the whole thing. Yeah. Then you could just drag it in there. So right now they're still visible. But if you right click on the yard mat container, the white one, yeah.
uh,
So under here we have like these view policies and these interact policies. So if you go to view policy and you set that to deny all, then you could make it so that nobody could see the tiles while they're in their stack, but you could still shuffle them in here, and then when you draw them out, they'll be face up.
Put it back. Very clever, Zoe.
Yeah, yeah. I've been having to learn a lot of workarounds like this.
You invent this one? Is this a Zoe original?
um, I probably was not the first one to do this, but this is just one of the many tricks I picked up.
I get.
But yeah, if so, you could, if you double click on that stack um, and then press Z on it, then you'll shuffle them, and so now you don't know what the one is on top and when you draw it.
Oh, very cool.
Okay, let's see. You also had like a board or something, is that right?
Yeah, actually I had a couple boards. So I guess if I go back to assets and then we'll import this. There's a couple boards. I think I only sent you one earlier, but we'll call this there was one that was like we'll call it the, I keep track of your money. We'll just call it the scoring board, whatever. And then I think it was this, and apologize. Although you had the nicest compliment I've ever heard in proto. You said that I said my artwork is garbage for prototypes, and you said that prototype artwork was the best artwork, which I just touched my heart. Like now I don't feel bad about this garbage I make. Um,
I love prototype art. I'm frequently thinking like I really wish this is final because I think there's something very endearing about like prototype art.
some of my favorite designers like Reiner Knizia, I would pay money for his crappy prototypes. He probably throws them in a bin somewhere when he's done, and I would cherish something that he, to see where he started with, and where he, and to have that would just be awesome. So yeah,
Yeah.
so we'll save that there. So this is just a boring board, and
Okay.
then yep, and then there was another board that was just another boring one. I think I forgot to. Let me export this super quick from um, Photoshop. We'll call that the boring board. Yep, okay. So then I'm going to import another asset. And that's when I just call this these are the lawns that you're going to at the yard sale. There's a few of them in a row. Yard board, okay.
Okay.
And
Okay.
yard board. It's close enough.
Okay. So these look like they would probably function a lot like containers, I think, right? Or is
They're
there
just
something different about how
nope,
these might
nope.
work?
Hold tiles, meeples, a couple pawns.
Okay. Okay. Is the scoring board like the main board area of like the game?
Sort of. It's there to track the round and how much money slash victory points each player has, and a couple. And after you use the meeple, they kind of sit there until the round is ended. So it's sort of important. It should be somewhere in the middle for all players, kind of.
Okay. Okay. Um, I think we could probably set it up as a container, but I want to show you something else. Go back to the top level, the home button,
Okay.
and then go to the surfaces on the bottom one, and click on the surface one. And for this, set your scoreboard as the asset. And let's just save that and see how it looks on the right. Let's see, is that might be too intimidating. So if you go onto the far right panel and you okay, if you hold control and scroll wheel back, or I think the minus button might be it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, this might be too
Yeah.
big,
We'll
or
say
I think there might, yeah, you could change the size.
would that be good? Like if I just maybe
Yeah,
halved it?
yeah,
Yeah, although it's guess it's even still a little. I mean, now I make it a little smaller maybe. I can mess with this later. Um
yeah,
uh
yeah.
that's In fact, I could even go a little because I think that's just like you're gonna have like a little scoring. The little meeple guys are gonna sit on some of these icons. So that's that seems pretty good.
Okay, okay. And this is just sort of to show that like how you would set up like a back like a this is sort of like the table of the game. So you could do this. It might make more sense to make this into a container so you could create like little anchor points for each step. I don't know if you want to do that.
Oh yeah, maybe not right now. I can do that another time because there looks like there's a lot of little anchor points to make. Although is it better to make like because the scoring markers should I can do that another time because yeah, each of these might need a little anchor point. Is there a way to like if I wanted to grab all these meeples and move them off the board? There's no way to like drag and highlight and move anything like that.
So if you I think you could like shift click on them.
Oh yeah, there it goes. Yeah. I gotta reach
So
them all.
just a heads up, yeah, it's when you pick up multiple components of the same component, it groups them all together. So
That's okay.
um
Okay. I think that's easy peasy.
yeah, yeah.
It's easier to just move the board. Can I move the board away from all the meeples? Like,
The board when you set the board as like the surface, it's sort of like the center of the table.
I
So
see. I see. I see. So everything would have to be built. Okay. So the surface is the middle. Cool.
does each player have like a hand zone or something that's like hidden to each player or anything like
Not
that?
hidden, but they'll be taking these tiles and placing them in front of them, and then creating like a as they acquire this junk, they're gonna like make these kind of this situation here. They just keep adding them to um in front of them, face up, visible to all. And there's only each player by the end game might only have a dozen or 10 or so, so they don't need a ton, of a 4x4 tile grid in front of each player would be sufficient. That makes sense.
Okay, okay. Um, I could um I could show you some like math for creating like a container for like automatically setting up a bunch of anchor points in like a grid pattern if you think that's something that would be helpful for you.
Yeah, yeah, I think so.
Okay, so why don't we go create a new component? Let's make a new container and um I'm not sure what to call it, like maybe like a player yard or something.
Yeah, yeah, they're putting it in their. I think the current prototype. They're they're having it's their antique store. They're for some reason they're buying junk, and then they're setting it in their store, kind of laying out how their little brick and mortar shop should look like. So we'll call that their player store or something.
Okay, okay. And let's make this, after you save that, let's make this like kind of big. I'm not sure. How many tiles did you say it could hold?
Um, I guess like a 4x4 or 5x5 grid should be plenty, I think. So if each tile I think was 128, maybe multiply it by 5 for each side, would that
Yeah,
be
so if if there was no like spacing between them, then it would be like 640, but probably want to have like some space in between. So like let's say maybe like 700 by 700.
Yeah, because if I did 128 times 5, that's 640, so 700 sounds great. Yeah, I mean, there could be a little breathing room in between them. And then I don't really need this corner here. Oh, look at that.
Okay, let me see. There are a lot of um there on the screen top Discord. There's some people will have shared some like some like mass update bulk editing scripts, and I know that this is one. Oh, actually, I think this is on their site. They have one for like creating like a tile. So if you were to go to screen top and learn, there's here it is. It's at the go to the bulk updating at the very bottom. There's one for creating positioning anchors in a grid.
Okay.
So if we so let's go back to your container and let's create a drop point.
Anchors.
Yeah. And let's make a point and set up all the there's only going to be one tile per point, is that right? Or
Yeah.
okay, so let's just set like the capacity and all those like things for this, and then we'll make a clone of this. And so 5 by 5, that's like 20, 25 total, right? So I think we need like 24.
Yep. Oops.
Okay, so if you copy and paste that script in,
Do I put it here in the middle, or do I erase all of this?
I think you erase all of it because it provides like the whole update function. And then oh, it even has like rows and columns. Okay, so it's got a cell width of 32, so you want that to be a little bit bigger than your
Yeah.
tiles.
I had if it's we do this with this. Okay, so if I divide that by 5, it's 140. This?
Yeah.
Cool. And then I'll
So
just save that.
yeah.
Oh yeah. Look at that.
So why don't we try creating that and seeing how it looks on when you start putting tiles onto it.
If I move this somewhere, then
Oh, we forgot a step.
oops. What I gotta do?
I'm gonna wait and see if you could figure it out.
Oh. Uh, no. Oh yeah, I need to add tell it what's gonna sit on top of it. So that's the
Yeah.
files. Oh yeah, that's so cool. Yep, that looks kind of perfect. That's exactly kind of what I'm going for there.
Awesome.
Yeah. Oh,
And if
that's
you
cool. I
want,
can make a little another image so everyone has like a little. I could make a little antique store looking thing, so it's not just a boring white background and something.
yeah,
Okay,
exactly.
totally.
And I want to show you, this is like kind of irrelevant, but I just want to show you because I think it's cool. If you double click on your stack of tiles, the 61 stack, and you drag it onto that container, like if you drag it like the whole thing onto the container, it'll like auto populate. And
That's
then
really
you could even select like a bunch of the tiles on that grid, and if you press Z, it'll like shuffle them in place.
that's really cool.
Yeah, it has limited viability, but it's great for like some automated like board setup kind of
Yeah,
scenarios.
yeah, yeah. Okay, could see that. Great.
Cool. Great. Let's see. Trying to think of what other things we need to set up for your game.
Yeah, so there's another board which was nothing really special here. There was the so we already uploaded the asset. We'll create another so this would be another so this board I need to add another board there, and then these tiles that we created earlier, these mats rather, will kind of go next to it, kind of like this. Um like a So they don't need to go on top of it. They simply need to go next to them. So can you have multiple surfaces in one
Yeah.
board? This would be a board should probably sit next to this surface we created here.
Okay, okay. Are you asking like if we have like a container that has like a container inside?
No, this just needs to be another board that lays maybe next to this scoreboard that we already have here.
Okay,
Just something
okay.
that kind of sits next to it.
Um, we're probably gonna have to create like a container, like probably realistically this board would probably need to be a container too. But you could create like a container that's like 1,000 by 1,000 or whatever size it needs to be.
Okay. And we'll call this one. This is going to be this was the cardboard. And then, okay. And then, oops, it's weird. There it goes. Okay. Yep. And then so that's the container. And then I want to, I don't need I know we have to, I want to add, shit. Why does it say container two? No, I didn't save it. I think.
I always forget to do the same thing.
Yep. Yep. Okay, there's the yard board, and then I want to add the image to this, and I do that. Shoot, I'm forgetting. If I want to import the image, is it a variant? Is that right? So I go here.
Yeah, that's right.
Yep, and then so now the board. Okay, so I made a perfect square. The board I'm importing is a 8.5 by 11 um, paper, so it's rectangular.
Okay.
So I'll need to change the size of the container to be well, it's 8.5 by 11, so it's like I just use
Yeah, yeah.
just do that there. Yep, boom. Um, that looks great. And if I add that into the board like that, yeah, that's it. This board can sit anywhere on the table, and this is the board where the um these suckers, oops, are going to. So this should be. How do I flip? Oh yeah, okay. So these would be flipped face down like a draw stack, and then each round, these are going to be populated onto the board. So I would need to create some anchor points for each of these, which you've already taught me. I can do that later, but and I can use the same script I think you used for this 5 by 5. I can figure out whatever this is. This is 4 by 5. And then you talked about there was a way to so when I these tiles I want them placed and then oh, you know what's here's an interesting question for you. So some of these tiles will be face down on the board at the beginning of each round, and you can see that where you have the little icon.
Yeah,
Some of
yeah.
them are face up where there's no icon. Is there a way to automate it so if I drop it on a little eye thing, it stays face down, but if I drop it on a place where there's no eye icon, it flips it face up? Or is that getting too complicated?
Yeah, we can do that. So, in the same way that you could set up the orientation of the anchor points with the same bulk edit script as the other one, but then after those anchor points are generated, you could click through them and change the ones that are the eyeballs to be auto flip down,
Ah,
or the one or make it so all of them are on flip up, and then change the eyeball ones to auto flip down.
got you. Okay, so if I went back into the yard board here and I clicked on the drop zones, and then there are there's 20 drop zones. So I'll make.
Oh, these are the
Nope.
drop zones.
Oh
So
no,
yeah,
no, not drop zones. The anchor points. Sorry.
yeah, which are within the drop zones. Sorry.
Within. Gotcha. So okay, so I go back into drop zone. So I go into drop zone. The anchor point's there. Yes. So then I create an anchor point, and then I will clone that 19 times, and then I'm going to edit the whole thing. And so this has 4 columns and 5 rows. And then each one is like, let's get out the calculator again. And that's right, because I made it, it was 850 divided by 4. So that's like 212. And then if I did the same thing for the height, that was 1100 divided by 5, which is 220. So I think I did the math right. Yeah, look at that. Ugh,
Nice.
hot. So, oh, I see. So I can go to each anchor and then, oh, yeah, right. So this is anchor 2. So I want this one to be automatically flipped to the back side. And then anchor 1 doesn't have that. And so it's the front side. And we said the capacity, yeah, there's only one that's going to be there. And I want it to remain in the same way. I'll do the same thing for anchor 2. Let's just test those real quick. So this should be the backside. Auto rotate. So if I take this and then put it on the board, so this should flip it face up. Shit. Did I not save something? Didn't. Anchor 1. Auto flipped it back. And anchored. Oh, wait, here. Maybe I didn't save it. Front.
There's one more thing that you're forgetting.
Oh. So it's not working. So if I do this, it doesn't. Nope. I did the anchors. I did the drop zone. Give me a hint.
The you need to set what things can be placed onto the yard board.
Yes, and that was so. That was in the
That's in the drop zones.
objects. No, wait. Nope. I'm making this up. Nope. Nope. Okay. Go back to the components. This was the yard board, and it wasn't
drop zones.
drop zones. Okay, and then this allows the junk tiles.
Yeah.
And so now it likes it. So cool. Look at that.
Yeah.
So freaking cool. You're blowing my mind, Zoe. I love it. I spent during COVID and everyone moved to tabletop simulator, and then just been dealing with that 3D nightmare for several years. This is just a breath of fresh air.
Yeah, this platform is great. For because like most board games having physics actually is a downside. I think.
Oh my god! I know we keep joking about if you're making a flicking dexterity game, just great. But other than that, the amount of times I've heard hear it's like the worst noise when you start up Tabletop Simulator and there's like that blood splat sound. It's
Yeah.
like after you hear that, it's worse than like my alarm in the morning. Just like, who would do that? Why would you do that? Anyway, this is great. And if anyone watching this and uses Component Studio, the design, the way whoever designed the UI, similar principles as Component Studio, so it's very easy to go from this software to this. These two seem like a great little tag team there.
Yeah, I've
Um,
heard good things about Component Studio.
I
So
I love
it
it.
it seems like it since it's able to create like tiled sheets for tabletop simulator, it seems like it worked well for this too.
Yeah, and the workflow just kind of is very similar.
Cool,
Okay,
cool.
so we got this board, and then yeah, I think so this is the one where let's do. Can I? The idea is that these would be. This is supposed to be people's yards where um, the um, the stuff is um, for um, it's going to be available for sale, and so and then there's these things, the sliver mats. Oh yeah, okay, so they're supposed to go. That's a design issue that I need to deal with. So basically, this board I should rotate it by 90 degrees, which means I need to rotate everything else because or rotate. Um, these are supposed to. How do I rotate something? Oh, there we go. Okay, R. So they would kind of look like this. Now this is probably not the best because now the um, kind of like it's gonna. These are essentially each of the different yard sales, and these are the prices, and people are going to put their. This is a kind of a bidding game where the earlier you arrive in the day, the prices are more expensive. But if you come later in the day, they'll actually pay you to haul away their junk. They try to sell off their old uh, gross sofas, but if no one wants them, they'll happily pay you to haul it away. So that's kind of how the economy works here. You
Okay.
arrive early and you pay top dollar for stuff, or you kind of push your luck and arrive later in the day and hopefully what you will want is still around and they'll pay you to take it away. So this is kind of like these are the little drive. This is supposed to be the individual yards. This and then there's like this is the driveway where people come. I don't know and park their car and then see what's for sale. Um,
Okay, okay.
so I mean, this is fine for this. I can work on this later. We don't need to do this all, but it would kind of look like how I want to flip those. But I'll worry about that later. Um,
You could create like a super container that would hold both the yard board and also the yard mats.
oh wow.
Um if if you want to make it like fancy, but I mean, I also think there's nothing wrong with like m- moving things like how you have
Yeah.
it right now.
Yeah, I think that's fine for this demo. And then how about when how do I do it when if I want to when a player starts a game from the beginning and how is everything all set up? Do I just simply how do I like have everyone's meeples sitting in front of their player area and everything all ready for a new game?
Okay, so you would need to so like on this right panel you would set up everything for like the state that you would want the game to be in on the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you were to go back to that like first menu where you clicked edit, there's like a play button. And so like let's do that now. Let's go back. So if you click on the word yard sale fail at the very, very top,
Mm-hmm.
and you were to click play right now, it would spawn the board exactly as you had last edited it.
Mhm.
And if you were to like make a big mess and then go back to that menu, press play again, it would load up the board in this exact state again.
Got it. So I
So
need
you
to
would
create the state of what I want it to look like at the beginning. That's easy to do. Does it automatically shuffle things for you each time, or is that something you need to do?
That is something you need to do, unfortunately.
Got it. Okay, that's no problem. So I can just kind of recreate. Um, we created a player space here. I can do that for each of the players. How about if how do I change it so there's allows up to 5 players?
Okay, yeah, that will, I'll show you how to do. So go back to edit. And so, yeah, seats. Yeah, this is exactly how you do it. And there aren't really like physical places where players show up on the board. So you kind of just sort of have to do things by color. Like have like what I like to do is like if for example I have like 5 players and like each player has like a hand zone or like a tableau, I'll give them like containers that are like color matching their seat. And
Okay,
so when somebody joins the blue seat, then they know that they said that the blue hand zone and the blue like tableau with the blue meeples.
got it. Got it. That makes sense. So does everyone see then the board from the same orientation? So everyone will see it from no one will sit on the other side of the table and see this from upside down?
Not unless they like deliberately choose to, like by pressing like I think the Q and E key, I think do that. Or rotate it. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
So you could set it up so that there are specific orientations. Like you can make it so that there's 8 corners that you rotate around, or even or just two. But most of the time, people just when it's a digital adaptation, it's usually just one orientation.
Got it. Okay. Um, very cool. This is really great. I think I kind of got everything here. The rest, I think I feel like I can. Can I ask you one last question? I know this isn't related to this game, but how do I if I want let's pretend that this game had dice in there. And let's say there was several dice that a D6 and I want players to kind of Yahtzee style take dice like um in Yahtzee you can like freeze dice and re-roll some. How would I add a few dice and have a capability to roll multiple dice at the same time? I think I've added dice in the past, but then was only able to like roll one at a time.
Okay, so let's create some dice and mess around with that. So yeah, there's like a default dice component, I think.
Yeah, right. So if I create a default dice, there's a D6, and
Yeah.
those are all fine.
And
And
then if
then
you create those on the table, then I think we should be able to. I could. Oh yeah, first you have to join the table.
okay, I'll add that in. There's the dice I just created. Oh, we have several colors to choose from. Let's go ahead, just choose white. Well, here I'll choose a few because I'm interested. How do I had a few in here. Okay, so okay,
They're
what?
the tiny ones in the middle, underneath the yard board. The left.
Oh,
Yeah, right
there,
there.
there they are. Cute. Okay, so roll. I think you said Z or what was it to roll?
For the dice, it's F. So if you click it and press F, then it'll spin them. I think if you shift click them, I think you could. Yeah, there you
I
go.
see. That's pretty easy. There's no, yeah. Is there any other easier way to automate dice other than multi-select like that, or is that the current kind of like if I wanted to build a Yahtzee game, um, I would need to do that, and then I mean, that's not terrible.
Yeah, I think for something like Yahtzee, where you have like a variable number of dice that you might be rolling, I think that's unfortunately the best way to do it.
Right.
What I've seen some people do is like just have like both dice in the same like image. Like if you're always rolling 2 dice, then they'll just like have like PNGs of like dice faces for every combination of those 2 dice with like it being
Oh,
weighted appropriately. So you just click on
I
that one
see.
set of dice and roll
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, yeah, I can see how that works. Okay. This
Do
is
you,
really great though. Yeah. That'll
yeah,
work. That's great enough for my for my prototyping, I think. And I
Do
think
you
I got
want
the rest.
do you want me to show you how to do custom dice because it's a little different from like the other stuff?
Oh, yeah, I'd love to see that.
Okay, we'll just like for sake of like time. Well, actually, if you go to the dice component and go down to variants, try looking at one of them. I think it might actually already show you. So like if you go, okay, so
Um,
you see the sheet. So
yep,
yeah, what it's doing is it's got a sheet of like all the faces like in a row on the sheet, and you're specifying like the very first value on that die. And so
got it.
it's picking like, and then if you go back to the top level of the D6 die, so up one more, yeah. So like if you look up there, it says side 6.
Yeah,
So what it's doing is it's looking on the asset sheet, starting from your first index, and then going up as many as like 5 additional assets. So it's like starting at asset index 1 and going all the way up to asset index 6, if that makes sense.
got it. Got it. Got it. Yeah. So it just treats it like a deck of cards, essentially. That.
Exactly.
Well,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. Oh, super easy. Wonderful.
And
This is
and
great.
and counters are very much the same way. Counters, if you think of them as like dice, they're very much in the same sort of boat. If you want to create like a custom counter, you could have an asset sheet that goes like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or something like that.
Got it. Okay. And it just goes up and down. Yeah, like, oops, no, those my components, but yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Got
and
it.
then there's a max size for it, and I don't think they have like an asset one for default. I think it's just like a number and the background that you could change the color of. But if you don't set an asset, it just uses like a text number on it.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. That's great. Yeah, I think we went through all the assets there. That makes sense. The differences between a tile and a container and a die. That's really cool. We talked about seats. I think we kind of went through everything.
Oh, one last thing. So guides. So if you got to a point where you wanted to like have custom guides for your game or something, like if you wanted to start doing unguided testing or something, the stuff that you write in here, if you go to that question mark on the far right of the screen, those guides will show up in this menu.
Uh, I see. Little cheat
So
sheets or instruction manuals. Yeah.
yeah, so you could totally have like a reference in there or something like that.
Is there any have they created any documentation for this, or is this kind of like I know obviously I've been to the front page and I've read through all of these, but there's no instruction manual for this yet, is there? Kind of.
Yeah, the instructions are a little limited. So yeah, there's that. The formatting for the guides is using Markdown, I think it's called, which is like this I think it's like the same formatting that's used on like Git or something. There's you could look up guides for it, but
Yeah,
I think it has like the basics in that like default like guide that it gives you.
got it. Great. This has been wonderful. I hope anyone who's still watching it find this helpful. This is
Yeah.
awesome.
I'm glad I was able to help. Awesome. So,
Yeah. Um, Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Zoe. I hope your channel enjoys this.
yeah,
I know
I hope so
I know I
too.
have. Yeah. And I
I'm
want to get
glad.
active on your Discord, and I'm sure I'll have a bunch more questions. Yeah, and love to hear all your tips and if you ever do a video that's just all these little tips and tricks like your your flipping a container thing. I'd love to hear more. It's awesome.
Anytime. Yeah, I upload like some little videos sometimes to my site when I get like very specific questions. But and I have like a playlist of them, but I'm thinking I should maybe organize it a little bit better.
Cool. Well, thank you so much, Zoe. Appreciate
Yeah.
all your help. You're a saint. This is wonderful. I can't wait to dive into this. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.